And good evening. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream. Wow, why do they all appear at once? I don't know, I just felt like doing live streams this week. So, today we're taking a look at the Neptune 3 Pro. Makes my arm look really long. Oh dear, I'm a child. Anyway, yes, we're taking a look at this printer because they sent it to me so that I could make a video on it. They haven't paid me or anything like that. It's not like, you know, the normal YouTube spiel. They just sent me making a video. One thing I do need to let you know though, that this is like the version 1 or the sort of not quite final version. I mean, it's final if nothing's broken, but they said to me that some little things may still change based on some early feedback. So there may be some little changes, but there shouldn't be anything big. And on that basis, like, okay, it's close enough to production. It's like, it's a real thing. It's got a proper box and all that kind of, it's not just like random stuff sent to the post. So that, or should I say, this is the plan for today or this evening. We've got a while, hopefully today. So welcome everyone. Welcome Lars. Good evening everyone. Yeah, I guess we should pretty much get on with it. There's not much else to discuss, I don't think. Definitely nothing back there. Definitely nothing. Don't look back there. Yeah, we're just going to be unboxing. We'll take a look through the electronics like we normally do. See if they've done a good job there. Pass some comments on some electrical features. Then maybe try and do a little breakdown of the hot end extruder assembly. Hopefully do a first print by the end of the hour 3-ish mark. This is the plan. Hopefully it all works out. So in order to do this properly, we do need to try and raise this up a bit so we can see in the box. I've not taken a look at any of this yet. There's no website page or anything. So I don't know what's in the box. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what the firmware is. Don't know what the drivers are. Well, everything I know is in the description because that's basically what they sent me in the email. That's all the information I have. I have opened it once just to check that there was a printer in the box, but I've not looked through the contents at all. So anything could happen, quite honestly. Let's hope whatever that anything is good. It's going to take maybe a few more minutes for people to arrive, but I think we'll get started because generally the unboxing is not terribly interesting. Anywho, so we have a manual, we have a notice. The TF card of the machine comes with an installation instruction video. Okie dokie. Power supply voltage, hotbed slide block wobbles, and auto leveling. Interesting, okay. This is a metal bracket thing. It looks like a stand for something. Oh, judge on this like structure, it's probably a stand for a screen or something. We've got the normal kind of arrangement of accessories, some ball head Allen keys, a couple of nozzles, a couple of spanners, one for hot end by the looks of it and one for V-slot wheels. Some crosshead screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, filament sensor, some filament, a few screws, some zip ties, that sort of normal arrangement. We have a UK power plug. Yay, UK power plugs. Seems like recently I've been getting some actual printers with UK power plugs, which is nice. A fully injection molded, really overkill spool holder. Got some inserts in the side, probably for a filament sensor, I'm guessing. That's normally where they get mounted these days. Then we got said boxing. Ooh, this is the whole frame come out in one. This is not the last thing actually. There's a belt across the top, but it's a little bit slack. I'm not sure that's really going to function quite how they hope it will. We'll see. Ooh, we've got a fancy looking hot end assembly. Cool, that's that one. We'll bring that back up in a second once we've got the other bits out. Same standard packaging foam you see everywhere. Looks like spring steel PEI sheet, magnetic print surface. Over here we have a dingle dangle dongle and a screen. This is the kind of cable they used to have for telephones. Hello? Is there anyone? Anyway. If we get this whole thing out. Yeah, so it comes wobbly, which is why they have that warning. I think for new users that will be like, oh my god, it's broken already, but it's not, don't worry. I was going to say it's meant to be like that. I guess it's not necessarily meant to be like that, but it's not a problem. Don't worry. In the front you got USB, because I guess this is where the main board is. Display for your connection for the display, micro SD card, and the B USB. Power connections around this side. The bed is obviously on the top. We've got our motor at the back, end stop switch, 230 volts. That's good. We've got a DC output, 24 volt, 2.5 amp. Why? I have no idea. What is that for? What could possibly need 24 volts at 2.5 amps? That's what, like 60-ish watts? 62 watts? Huh? Build size 225 by 225 by 280. Machine size 475 by 445 by 515. Filament is 175, net weight 8.1 kilograms. It does look quite a polished assembly. It looks very similar to that one that I unboxed yesterday and was using the past couple of days, actually. Let's have a turning over and have a look on the inside. Oh, so this is literally the power supply. Cool beans. Let's dive in. Hello? It's for you. It's for you. They want to talk to you. I'm going to do that just constantly throughout the stream, so I hope you're going to get used to that. Let's have a look inside here. Ugh. The colour and painting and finish all looks pretty good. I'm assuming that's also going to be on whatever the final model is. I think this is close enough to the final model. We can be fairly sure that that's what's going to be here. And then we've got a slightly different screw out the side. So our first look at electronics, we have the power supply and connections for that. It's a bit weird that this is coming like out of the case and back into the case. This metal panel is like, I don't know, that's a bit weird. I guess it saves cutting through the extrusion. Oops, a daisy. The terminals all look reasonable. We've got single connections on each of them. Nothing's overlapping. Let's have a quick look for whether they're loose or tight. Yeah, it's nice and tight. Tight. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay. Two positive. I don't know why this one's a blue and this one's a red and this one's a red. This, if those were two blue, that would be a bit more normal. Annoyingly, they've got US colouring for the wires. It's not the end of the world, because I guess a lot of people are not going to be in here, but I prefer to see UK colouring for UK units. The power switch is only cutting the live rather than the neutral. Power switch should really cut the neutral and the live. Let's leave it off. So, pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. In terms of the branding of the power supply, there is a sticker here, but I can't really get to it. We can have a go though. Never shy away from a bit of disassembly. It's the first black powder coated power supply I've seen. It looks nice, if that counts for anything. Huh? I hate it when this happens. This is what soft screws does. The screw is stuck on the end of the blooming thing. There we go. I've taken out the two screws at the back and it's still not budging anywhere. I don't know how many more we're going to have to take out. Another two, I think. This printer is going to be very disassembled by the time we get it to do anything. There's that one. And another one. They're still not going anywhere. No, no, that just removes that cover. Rats. Okay, it doesn't just slide, it does completely come off. And that one would. So I'm guessing the screw must go all the way through this area here. Let's get in this side as well. Now this side has a metal top, but it looks like the surround is all plastic. And they've also used crosshead screws here, annoyingly, rather than hex head. Much prefer hex socket for Allen keys. Oh, these are all for the self-tapping plastic. I guess that's why they're different. Makes sense, but kind of annoying. Oh, hello. Okie dokie. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? I'm just getting a thing. I shall be back in a minute. Hopefully less than a minute. If I have an appropriate thing for testing the thing that I think it is. It looks like I don't. This will work. Hold on with your questions, we'll get there in a second. Yeah, we'll get all that I'm looking at these holes. Can you see these little pins? There's an arrangement of 4 screws. Screw posts, that's the one. And I wanted to check what they fit, so I've just picked up this, which within its enclosure should have a Raspberry Pi Zero, because I think, no, it's not, it's different. Okay, I thought it would fit a Pi Zero, but alas, it doth not. Be there in a second. I'll get there. I'll get there. I don't want to leave too many screws all falling all over the place. Okie dokie. So let's have a look. It's not. It's difficult to get that angle. That is a big magnet in there, don't I? What if I just hold it up? Oh, let's rotate it. Let's try this instead. There we go. I'll probably bring this down now. Lots of faffing about. We'll get there in a second. Okay. Is it close enough? I can't get any closer. So, let's have a poke around. Can't see very easily. So, I've made this difficult for myself. This is a ZNP Robin Nano _DW version 2.2. There is loads of gloopy hard glue on basically every connector, which is annoying. So these up here don't appear to be soldered, but they do have hot glue all over them. I can try removing them. This is a lot. It's been a while since I've seen this much gloopy glue. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it glues really well, sometimes it doesn't. So if we try and should just be, yeah. Those look pretty reasonable. I don't know why they've needed to glue it, but there you go. They have been a little bit thoughtful in that they've put a connector in line with the fan. So knowing that they've glued this one, they've given you an option that's not glued, which is a bit weird. Because if you don't need to glue this, why did you need to glue that? Who knows? Oh, I've just noticed there's 2 lots of wires going into the same fan connector. There's this fan, which says fan 1, and this fan, DC 24 volt fan. Maybe they've plugged in the hot end cooling fan to this fan. I'm not sure. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stepper drivers and a position for a 5th if you wanted to add it. Yeah, that seems to be what this is. A little bit strange, but that's what you have. I think this is where you can put a Wi-Fi module that looks about that size. It's definitely what they've used, I've seen previously for auxiliary modules. The rest of it looks pretty standard. The processor itself, let's see if I can read a number off of that. STM32, of course, F401 RCT6. It does have the little potentiometers on each of these stepper motors as well. So let's see. So where's the bed? So the bed cable is the one that's braided. That goes in here to here to here. So that is just a standard connection. This other one is presumably going to be the 24 volt input. Yep. And then you've got 2 wires. So the auxiliary power here is literally just connected directly to the power supply. I'm guessing there's going to be extra stuff coming for this. Ooh, hello, what's that? Oh, that's the screws for the power supply, I think. Such a mess doing this, isn't it? So there's some screws down in here. I don't think it's that. The glue would help a lot with shipping. Well, I know why they put it on there. It doesn't make it good that it's there. Okay, this model power supply is by a company whose name I'm unable to pronounce. It's a 24 volt 15 amp power supply. The model number is A-360NP-24. So presumably that's saying it's a 360 watt 24 volt power supply. There you go. Now you know. Now we can get that screw back in again. We can relocate the screw holes. Oh, rats. I can't find the... Can't get this to locate back on the power supply hole. Oh, I think I've got it. Okay, I think we're done on the inside, if everyone's happy. My suspicion is there's going to be an additional module here at some point. I'm not sure what. I was suspecting something Raspberry Pi single board computer based. There's quite a lot of empty space in here, so for those that are looking to do some modifications, etc., you've got boatloads of space. There's quite a bit of wiring in here, but I think if you manage your wiring appropriately, you could do quite a lot in this little space. This is why I don't like these, they're just a bit of a pain. Really high chance of cross-threading as well, probably. Oh, there you go, cross-threaded. That doesn't help with the electric screwdriver there as well. In fairness, right, we've got to get these covers back on. Oh, I've just knocked 2 screws off. How's everyone doing, by the way? Who's got some interesting projects lined up for the weekend? What are you working on? What's printing? Who's sitting here while their printer prints stuff? I imagine more than one of you. Oh yes, that was the top one. This is very satisfying. Belt plucking. Printing loads of axolotls. I've not printed one of those. Do people like them in like lots of rainbow colours? Is that another popular, like, it's probably this one. Is that one of those, another one of those popular TikTok ones? Dem kids be loving dem TikTok prints. Making parts for a Christmas light show. Oh, don't say that word. It's not Christmas yet. Sounds quite fun though. Righty-ho. back to original build state. Mostly. Okay, I think now we just go for instructions. Supply voltage, make sure you set appropriate for your country. The bottom slide block has been adjusted before leaving the factory, but the pulley of the machine may become loose due to transportation. If the print head is shaky or loose, the corresponding eccentric column can also be adjusted. Okie dokie. Well, I guess, what side cutters did we get? The dark blue ones. Oh, these are like the worst. Yeah. They look like they've been used for 2 years before they put them in the box. A plastic scraper. Not needed. Very, very tiny amount of PLA. Some tube, SD card, USB cable. Here we are. So we're looking for the eccentric nuts. There's 2. They tighten or loosen in both directions, so pick a direction and go for it. That one's tight enough. Isn't looking great. I think we're going to loosen the front one a tad. Tighten the back one a touch. Right, the carriage, we can do this too. This one all seems in there. There doesn't seem to be any bed leveling sensor at all. Oh, we're going to do the disassembly of this, aren't we? Let's do that now. And then we'll put it together. Oop. Needed a scraper yesterday and couldn't find one. Just getting inundated with 3D printer scrapers. The thing you want to do when you get a new one, instead of putting it in the drawer with the rest of them, just put them all around the place and just put them everywhere. So everywhere you go within arm's reach, there's another scraper. Oh, there is a sensor. It's here. Didn't see it. Oh, blimey, Charlie. Okay. Where have we got cables? Tiny cable this side. Tiny cable this side. Good luck to me getting those back in. I'm going to need it. So that's just a big plastic housing. holds the cooling fans. So you have got two cooling fans. Here you have a fan for the hot end. Extruder here. Ooh dear. That doesn't feel very smooth. It's probably a binding on something. Pretty old style. This is really old. Very thin heat block. It's using even a bead thermistor. These are things that most people stopped using a little while ago. The sensor is not a strain gauge sensor, it's an inductive or capacitive probe. It's a non-contact probe. So this removes the probe here and the fan here. So this fan just blows air across this small heatsink assembly. So this is just basically the cold side of the hot end. It's just a load of fins. So it prevents obviously heat transferring more and prevents the filament being melted or expanding, basically getting anything warm at all before it gets to the hot end. Unfortunately, it looks like another PTFE lined hot end. You can see quite a large heat break. I mean, you can't see, but I can see a fairly large heat break. So that suggests it's not a thin wall tube, but a thick wall. Good that we have a silicone sock. I don't know how to get this lump off. It looks, or at least it's starting to look, like they've used the motor screws to screw the motor to this. I can't see anywhere else that it's screwed on. Aha, I found it. It's through the back. This hot end assembly does have 4 wheels. Which I must say is kind of annoying because it becomes really difficult to get them evenly tensioned. Well, that screw didn't do much. What about these two? Yeah? Oh, so here there's a heat set insert, but it's coming loose. I think whoever tried to do up this screw in the factory maybe overdid it and they've pulled the heat set insert out of the plastic. So this would have been a quicker way, I think, to disassemble the hot end. Or do we have to go both ways anyway? We're really going full disassembly today. Ain't no hiding nothing. Yeah, that definitely shouldn't be sticking out like that. So now we're pretty much down to extruder and hot end. These 2 screws, long screws, hold the hot end in. There you go, there's the tube. From there you can see that goes down just in the tip of the hot end into the block. And then up here you have the extruder side. That's a different gear tooth to what I'd normally see on an extruder. Okay, I think this is all going to ping apart when I take this screw out, so I need to be a bit careful. I might even put some safety glasses on. You're never going to... Oh, I don't... Where are my safety glasses? I'll do it while looking away. Wasn't too bad. So this is what the oh, here we go. This is what it looks like. So this is your tension over on this side. You've got a dual drive gear system. They look basically like Bondtech gears, probably clones, I would guess. The extruder tension spring seems really very strong, probably a bit too strong. And that's a minimum tension basically. There was another printer I opened. I think this is the same. I knew it looked familiar. It's basically the same hot end and extruder as the Ender 3 S1 Pro. Basically identical. ELEGOO website. I don't think this is on the ELEGOO website, is it? I looked before and I couldn't find anything. They don't list this printer on the website. Getting an echo? There's only one microphone. I don't think the echo's from me. Anybody else getting an echo? It's not really a Titan clone particularly. Titan, remember, was only even single drive. Or was a single drive. I say even as if it's better or worse. But it's basically the same extruder as the S1 Pro. Why can I not get this aligned? That doesn't look right. It's... I think it is though. It's maybe not identical to the one on the S1 Pro, but it's very, very similar. Yes, it is a direct drive, and it's mostly plastic construction, which should mean it's quite lightweight. Now, I need to remember how to put this thing back together. Anyone remember? Anyone at all? Got a clue? Goes in there, this goes in here. But I can't remember which way around the... motor is supposed to go. Why does that pop out when I... Right, there we go, that goes in here. I was just making sure the motor wire, cable, etc. is gonna work. Don't know what to do quite about this thread insert which is sticking out. Just leave it like that, I suppose. Ooh. Somebody's had a bit of a nightmare assembling this. Look there. This is where someone with an electric screwdriver inserting a screw has just gone brrrr and missed, like scratched it across the surface as they tried to insert it. It's pretty badly damaged, but I don't think it should affect overall performance too much. Now one screw in here. God, I'm getting really disorientated because I assembled this around the front and then disassembled it around the back. Right. Oh, sorry. Okie dokie. So that fan goes in there. So how did this go on? Oh, that's the wrong way out. That goes that way. So that's how that goes back in there pretty much. But that doesn't screw, that screws onto there. Oh, we seem to have a spare screw. Oh no, that's fine. That's 3 and then 2. Cool. You can see they've got some LED lights in here as well. I'm not sure the position of those is particularly ideal, but they might look quite nice, if nothing else. Two fans back in. Hopefully this should just settle over the top of here. A little bit of light persuasion. Right. The airflow limitations by this shroud, maybe it's not going to have too much of an effect. Where's the... Yeah, the hot end cooling fan is going to pull mainly from like by the print area, which is not great because that's going to be very warm. The pot cooling fan's got lots of area around the side. Looks like there's space in there for a little 5mm LED as well. Okie dokie. So that's the first hour done. Complete teardown of l'électronique. Now we shall attempt to follow instructions. Auto leveling is a little bit off there. We've got a user manual. Right. Not that I feel like I'm particularly going to need it, but we're going to look at it nonetheless. Maybe we shall go for the off the edge of the table strategy this time. It's not a strategy I often go for. can work. So we need M5 by 45mm screws, of which you should probably get ready before you balance your printer on the edge of the desk. Annoyingly, there's this braided belt underneath it. Why is calibrating the E-steps of the extruder done after heating up the hot end and extruding a certain amount of filament? Doesn't it make it inaccurate because the higher temp of different filament will make my E-steps inaccurate? No. Remember, when you calibrate E-steps, you're not measuring what's coming out, you're measuring what's going in. And those are the same, but it doesn't matter. You're measuring the solid part. So your measurements will be fine. Just notice the top doesn't really match the base. This colour and this colour are quite different. This is kind of green and this is kind of blue. It seems really dense, like the base is really short. The other printers I've done recently, those bits are much wider, longer. I feel like I've not explained that very well. Would you like to ask the question again? Like, which part, why do you think heating will make a difference? There we go. No, E-steps is for all materials. Your flow adjustment value, you can adjust flow for different materials because they respond to the gear teeth differently. The E-steps value is for all materials. No, higher temperature does not equal more flow. It can allow more flow, but it doesn't automatically mean more flow. Okie dokie, that's that step. Next, M4 by 20 screws. Ooh, to secure this screen mount to the side here. Oh, it's the wrong blooming size. That's why it's not easy. Oh, flexibles are very different. but it's the reason it changes from one material to another is just to do with the way, like the hardness basically, and how the teeth interact with the filament, rather than the temperature that you're printing them at. You could have an AEBS that you can print quite cool, and a PLA that, I mean, well, no, it's not a very good analogy, but higher temperature will basically mean your flow is less viscous, which means the extruder has to push with a little bit less force in order to get the flow, which can sort of lead to higher maximum flow rates, but the temperature doesn't determine flow rate. PLA is quite a hard material. Blimey, that's some magnets and a half. Take your fingers off if you put them in the wrong place. Right, take that sticker off, we don't need that. Looks like there's a peelie on the screen as well. And put this on here. Got to mount up the top. Just two M4 by 20 screws, nice and easy. It does seem to be a completely plastic top beam here. And this belt is definitely too loose, I think. I'm sure of it. You can get quite a bit of difference one side to the other. I mean, it doesn't really skip the steps. I'm not sure it's... I mean, to be honest, it's not even needed at all. There's two motors, so... Oh yeah, the filament sensor. Where is it over here? I feel like that's on the wrong side. Oh, I guess it's supposed to be whichever side you decide to put the handle. And go both sides. I think this is supposed to be deliberately, yeah, deliberately wobbly, so you can put the filament sensor in whichever orientation you need it. And that goes there. Filament detector. Got an R-shaped clip. Where's the R clip go? For some cable management somewhere. Ooh. Oh, put it on the wrong way around. Dipstick. I don't have any pricing up, unfortunately. Well, this is exceptionally tight, but it's in. I think I want to bring this down a bunch. Connect these up. Connect this to the motor. Connect this up to here. That's a little bit, so, sorry. Down here, the cables are just a little bit worryingly close to this. I'd prefer if these were rotated around the back of the motor to this side. I think the length is sufficient. It would just mean that you're a little bit further away from the edge of this bed, because I think if that goes, probably wouldn't, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit too close for comfort. Then we do this. So we just got to get this around the right way, open up 2 clips, try and slot this into here I think, and then we'll push it in. Maybe not, maybe the other way around. Push it into here, yeah. It's kind of secure, hopefully secure enough. That's in there. Do you have any insider input or insider news on input shaping? For Marlin, no. I do not know anything, I'm afraid. We've got to do these. So this one goes to here, 3 pin to there, 4 pin to the motor. This sticks out a bit, but what you're going to do, hopefully this is plenty long. Yeah, that's fine. V-slot wheel adjustment again. Okay, time to turn it on. I'm hoping this screen will be quite good, but I don't know. On. Bit of power supply noise, not too bad. Nice-ish looking screen, I guess. It's a bit high on the brightness perhaps, but that's just me being a bit fussy, I think. Let's get this extra shite out of the way. So, what have we got? So that just goes printing. Temperature, so you can set presumably temperature, turn it off. Presets for PLA, ABS, PETG and TPU. It's quite responsive, that's quite nice. It seems to be capacitive touchscreen, so you don't have to like whack it for it to respond. This is for loading, unloading filament. Language, temperature presets probably, yeah. There's the light. Doesn't seem to be anything by the nozzle at all, which is... that's alright. It's quite a cool light, but that's fine. That just turns on and off part cooling. Filament detection sensor. It's quite useful to be able to turn off in case it's like going faulty. About the machine. It's nice that they have a contact email in there. I don't know how much they respond to it, but it's kind of nice that it's there. Some people might look on the printer for that kind of thing. Advanced settings, backlight. Ooh, don't go down to 0. It's a bit risky. Motor settings. E-axis pulse, sure. Speed settings, maximum acceleration, maximum speeds, power loss recovery. Turn that off or on. Don't know how they do that. I didn't see much in there for power loss recovery. It does seem to... I'm not sure it's actually RJ11, but it's of similar style. I did do the... Hello? This operation will trigger the return to 0 action, whether to continue. Okay, it's difficult English, it's just going to home. Returning to 0, please wait. Yeah. Hello? It's so you can order your dinner, order your takeaway while you're doing your 3D printing. Well, right now the nozzle is literally smashed into the bed. Well, they were about right. I think that was... No. I'm not sure what this is all doing down here. This looks like the bed mesh data. I'm not sure why it's like, it's just showing like a puddle of numbers. Feeler gauge is not better, it's too smooth and it's oily. So that's the levelling done. I guess there's not much else we need to do other than do a printing. Oh, we didn't do the... I think this might have been set up by somebody before. I think somebody else has already tuned this up. You need to press that button, calibrate the bed. Then it does the heating. There's a brief bit in instructions about doing auto leveling. When first running the machine, the distance between the platform and the nozzle needs to be calibrated in the leveling mode, which is about the thickness of a piece of A4 paper. When the machine is powered on, select Level. Each axis of the printer automatically returns to the origin, homing. After entering the leveling page, click the calibration icon. The machine will enter heating state. The nozzle is heated to 140 and the hot bed to 60. Please preset the hot bed temperature according to the temperature of the consumables and then level the printing platform to achieve a more accurate leveling value. After reaching the preset temperature, start the 36-point automatic calibration. 36 points. No other operations shall be done during this period until finally the nozzle returns to the center of the platform. I don't know why you need to heat the nozzle when it's... whatever. After leveling, set the Z-axis compensation. Place an A4 paper between the nozzle and the platform. Click the compensation value, continuously push and pull the paper. Compensation leveling is completed when there is friction force. Note that the leveling sensor only detects the metal platform plate. For example, replacing the glass platform for leveling will not produce detection effect, which will cause nozzle to squeeze the platform. And then there's a model test. First, press the filaments to the bottom of the print head. Click Prepare, Extrude, Load. The temperature of the nozzle will be automatically heated. Preheat it, do some extrude. Click Print. If you want to continue printing from power loss recovery of a sudden power outage or accidentally turn off the power of the printer, this function does not need to be set manually. When the printer is reconnected to the power supply and turned on, just click Resume to continue. Apparently there's a Cura profile already. Enjoy this 36-point leveling. We're going to be here all night. The amazing thing is, it does... Oh no, that was a second row, okay. This has nothing to do with being inductive probe. It's pretty quiet. We're not printing anything yet, remember? Okay, so... Oh, it wants you to install ELEGOO Cura. Why can't they just put the profiles on Cura? I've just launched Cura and it just has the Neptune 2 and the 2D. Got time for a cup of tea while it does levelling. It's just pretty standard stepper drivers. Probably TMC 2220, maybe 2225 or 2208 or 2209. Pay attention to the distance between the nozzle and the bed, which can be adjusted by Z offset. Right. Let's put in anything on the SD card. I'm just about to check it. So the SD card, oh goodness me. The NetAC 8GB. Blimey. Let's have a quick look. I mean, we know that there's the video on there in theory. They tell me it has video. User manual, so PDF of the user manual. ELEGOO Cura. Windows drivers, Mac drivers. Buddha STL. What's this? Tool Holder 3 Pro. Oh. It's just a STL or something you can like clip on the side to hold your tools. Assembly tutorial video and a Buddha G code. Well, I don't have a Neptune 3, so I'm not sure exactly. I can go and have a look. So it looks like the same screen. It's got a, so Ender 3 Pro has direct drive, so completely different hot end and extruder system. It has dual drive, so 2 motors, 2, lead screws, and it has a light at the top. I think there's things mentioned in my description, which is what they sent me on the email, is the difference between the Neptune 3 and the Neptune 3 Pro. So not a lot, but it does have direct drive, which could be quite a significant thing. I'm not sure why we're still at... We need some filament. This'll do. Quite like the screen, to be honest. Being a capacitive touchscreen makes it quite fast and responsive. Probably one of the best screens I've used on a like pre-built, pre-assembled machine like this one. So it looks like it's doing preheat, so bed to 60, nozzle to 200. Might be a bit cold for this PLA. Should be alright though, hopefully. If not, with a bit of luck we'll be able to adjust it as well. Nozzle temperatures, load, unload, speeds, Z offset, power loss recovery, filament detection. Yeah. Question is, where be the firmware? Well, that was a weird noise. Well, so somebody's used this printer because that's red. Will they bring a kit out so Neptune 3 owners can upgrade to direct drive and dual screws? I can try and remember to ask. Neptune 3 firmware, original firmware. Source code 1.0.4. Yep, that looks reasonably good. Compliance with the appropriate open source license. Yay! Turns out it's not that difficult, is it? Why can't everyone else do it? It does make it difficult to see. You're absolutely right, and it could really do with the light in there. It's puzzling why there is no light. They put a light up here, but where you need it is in there. Can't see anything that's going on. Raj, do you work for ELEGOO or something? Depending on price so far, this is quite impressive. Oh, hello, it's Uncle Jesse. Good evening. Or it's not for you, is it? I have no idea how they sent me one before they sent you one. I couldn't believe it. It does look quite nice. There's not a lot of differences between the 3 and the 3 Pro. This like graphic up the side, maybe it could do without the text, but it just looks quite nice. Yes, direct drive. It's actually, so I did a complete teardown of it, literally to basically nothing. The direct drive system seems to be very, very close to what's on the Creality Ender, what's it called? I forget. Ender, the S1. Is it an Ender 3 S1? S1 Pro is the one that I did recently. The extruder looks basically identical to that. I wouldn't say the hot end looks particularly high performance in terms of speed, but it is direct drive, so I guess that could be useful. Any tips for using PEI print surface? It's supposed to use glue, nothing sticks to mine. I've tried cleaning it with IPS and acetone, but PETG PLA still warps and broke from the surface mid-print. PEI print surface, so is that a smooth PEI or a rough PEI? Texture PEI tends to not stick that well to PLA in my experience, even though that's what this is. But this is quite a smooth, a fine grain. They tend to be a bit larger than that, tend to be a bit rougher. It may just be your temperatures are not quite right. TPU prints, here I come, excited for mine to eventually get here. Also, you do at least have one coming, I thought you must do. Cheers, thanks for dropping by. Au revoir. Not RGB lights though, they're just white. They don't have any brightness control either, and they are kind of bright. It'd be nice to have something where you could actually just like change the brightness. This is a long print, and in traditional extra safety fashion, it's got an enormous brim. 4%, 7 minutes. I don't know what the estimated time is, but I don't think it's fast. It's doing another solid layer. It's at 1.2, so this is what, 6 layers, and it's still doing solid layers. Oh, yeah. Yes, this is a ribbon cable. It is, again, I've just noticed, basically exactly the same. Well, maybe not exactly. It's pretty similar to the S1 Pro. The ribbon cable on this one is a little bit narrower, and the support here is metal instead of plastic. I wouldn't ever use glue stick for anything. The only time I've used glue stick is with printing polycarbonate on PEI, because it sticks so well that you need something in between so you have a way to remove it. But I don't glue stick anything. Okay, we're starting into the print now. The infill looks a little bit broken up, which is not great. It suggests that even at this speed it's going a little bit beyond its capability. These speeds are really slow too. This is not quite right, it's just the fan is at 255%. That's 8-bit integer problems. So now we just sit and watch, I guess. Let's see a bit more under the hot end now. Yeah, there's no estimated time at all. We can work it out a bit, because it says 10% at 11 minutes, which makes it about 110 minutes, which is ages. It's tempting to give it the juice a bit, because I don't really want to sit here for an hour and a half watching it print. So I've set it to 210 degrees Celsius and 130% speed. Increase the flow rate just a tiny bit to compensate for the increased speed. It is reasonably quiet. This light under here, so the control board is under here. I imagine that light relates to one of the heaters. So I'm thinking, because yeah, that noise I hear is retraction. It looks like it's doing quite a lot of retraction. I couldn't tell if it was retraction or something else. If it was maybe skipping because I'd increased the speed and flow rate a bit. Where are we up to? 15% in 15 minutes. Bamboo, Voron or rat rig? I can't really recommend a bamboo because I've not had one or used one. Also, isn't it BAMBU? BOO is the plant, isn't it? And then Voron versus rat rig depends what you want really. If you want enclosed, I'd probably go Voron. Their enclosure is just a little bit easier to deal with. Seems like loads of people got the FL Sun V400. I didn't get to look at that one, unfortunately. I use my Voron probably more than rat rigs. I use my V0 probably the most. And then between the Voron and rat rig, probably the Voron. I was supposed to be getting a VZ235 kit like 2 months ago. It's coming soon. Every month it's going to be next month. We're going to go faster. %180. Your boy's getting impatient. Oh, if anyone has not left a like, go ahead and do so now if you fancy. Now would be good time. Well, not that any time's a bad time. You heard of boron, you never got it to print. Clipper baffles me, so waiting on my Bamboo Lab printer. Oh, poor, I'm sorry to hear that. That must be pretty frustrating. What were your problems with Clipper? Personally, I found it quite intuitive compared to others, but obviously the thing with intuition is it's different for everyone. I have two, yes. Blue one correct and the red one correct. How do you like building them? Yes. I did like building them. Building them's half the fun for me. I would definitely recommend getting at least partial kits, if not full kits. So by partial kits, I mean like buy from places. I mean basically like I did with the blue one, where there's companies that do like their specialist parts in a little kit. So like I think of Powg, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but they make or sold a kit of like the belts, some of the rods, all of the different pulleys and idlers, all of that kind of stuff in a kit. So you're only buying like maybe 10 or 15 different things or shops and stuff, rather than from like 40 or 50 different places if you're getting it all individually on different orders and all this kind of thing. Definitely don't miss Marlin versus Clipper. Yeah, it's kind of, it makes me a bit sad really. I mean, I've used Marlin for years and years and years and years. And now all the main printers I'm using are running Clipper, pretty much. I still use the Mark III quite a lot, and that's obviously running Marlin firmware. But this is Clipper, this is Clipper, this is Clipper, this is Clipper, this is Clipper. It's all just Clipper, 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 Clipper. It's just nice having all the stuff that it has. It's just convenient. Especially for modifying things, because the firmware is much easier to adjust than Marlin. It seems to be surviving okay at this speed. I can't really see whether it's doing any good or not. It's too dark under there. I never found my torch either, so I don't have additional light. Yeah, I shall use my phone. Yeah, looks pretty good. Third done. Unfortunately, I think based on acceleration, we're not getting really much faster because the acceleration is quite low. So even increasing the speed doesn't actually make the printing that much faster. Because I don't think it changes the acceleration, it just changes the top speed. It is missing nozzle lights. It's a bit of a critical oversight in my opinion, considering how massive this thundering blob is. You can see it quite well from the back, but from the front you can't see a single thing. Also, isn't that the Meta logo? Facebook Meta logo. Infinity. Oh, it's also ELEGOO's logo, isn't it? That's the zeros, the O's, the O's in ELEGOO's. Followed you and Salinger on the builds. I enjoyed building it. I could not get some of the steppers to work and just don't have the patience for it. Oh, that's a shame. I'm hoping you got a good amount of money for selling it, did you? Curious to see how a very tall object works. My Ender 3s or 3S had horrible Z wobble. Only the belt mod got rid of that problem. Didn't trust ordering new lead screws. I've not had problems with much Z wobble on previous one. I'm just trying to think. No, I've not had bad issues like that for quite a while now. But then I guess my shipping method might be a bit different if I'm just getting singles handled better. I don't know, it seems unlikely, doesn't it? It seems like all the printers use the same toolhead wiring loom thing. The SV06 and the Creality S1 and now this. I wonder if you can switch toolheads. I wonder if the SV06 I've not seen, or I contacted them about it and they were like, we don't want people to make anything other than a review. I was like, go away. So this, as I mentioned earlier, is very similar to the Ender 3 S1. It seems to be, that's what this generation of printers is going to be like. The Huracan was pretty similar, a little bit different, but pretty similar. Ender 3 S1, very, very, very similar. I reckon the next Huracan will come out with an extruder like this, even though the first Huracan's not actually out yet. It just ends up being like a really cost-effective design. Everyone copies it and uses it, and then somebody else invents a newer, lower cost design and they all go and use that. Can't really get away from it, I don't think. You probably can't, well, I don't know. Despite the similarities, they are still assembled quite differently. So you'll get some of the way, but maybe not as far as you think. No, I mean everything, all the stuff underneath is arranged quite differently, but the extruder and hot end is very similar. You got to remember different probes, different cooling fan, different part cooling fan, different ribbon cable, different carriage. It's just the hot end and extruder, and this kind of system is similar. No, the ELEGOO Mars. Mars is their, and Saturn. Neptune's is their FDM range. I don't really do resin anymore. I got rid of all the resin stuff I had. I didn't use it for like a year and a half, 2 years. I had an ELEGOO Mars. I think that's the only resin printer I ever owned. I used it for a bit and I was like, this is a nightmare. It is cool. It does produce some ridiculous detailed stuff, but I want to be doing that kind of thing in somewhere with like concrete floors or rubber mats and all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm like in a home here with carpet and everything. with limited space, it's just not ideal for dealing with resin, in my opinion. Needs at least a garage, which I do not have at this location. Print one? Print a what? A resin printer? Or what, a garage? Well, I might move soon, so then I might get a garage. Trouble is, if you end up with a garage, you don't end up with a parking space. And if you need a parking space, then you need to end up putting your car in the garage, in which case I then can't put this stuff in the garage. Oh yeah, I even forgot about the odours. Yeah, having to wear the mask the whole time in this room. Oh, that was a nightmare too. It would take a lot of Neptunes to make a garage. I mean, yeah, it'd take a lot of filament. It's just not a very efficient way of doing it, is it? Lucky to have a garage with a small driveway, but the garage is full of crap. Yeah. I don't have a driveway. I have a parking space which is allocated. But in my flat, I don't really have much storage space. Other than like whatever you make of in your rooms. There's no like loft because it's flats above and below. Well, there's no flat below, flats above. So normally you'd have like a loft and stuff in a house. I haven't got that. I've got like a cupboard. That's the storage space. So anything that doesn't fit somewhere, it has to go. And I'm going to quickly run into printer problems now because I've just got 2 new printers, this and the Huracan, and I got nowhere to blooming put the things. So we'll be getting rid of older printers or something. I don't know. I'd really like a really uniform desk workspace around the whole room. But if I'm going to move, then I'll do it in a new space. Hang from the ceiling. I can't, like, because it's a rented place, I'm not allowed to use the ceiling and walls. I can't like drill into the walls, so I can't put like filament storage on the walls and stuff. It's just, I have to put nothing. Or I have to get permission to do it, and then you end up making a mess and end up paying loads of money for it to be covered and sorted after. It's just not worth the hassle. Is this one a clipper one? I converted my Cetus 3D to clipper, just can't figure out bed leveling. This is not a clipper printer, this is running Marlin, and we've checked I've checked just now. The firmware is available on GitHub, at least for the Neptune 3, which I imagine is basically the same as this. Just for proof, there you go, Neptune 3 firmware. I'd like to see the exact version for the Neptune 3 Pro, but I mean, they're clearly doing it. They've got for like the Mars, is it Mars firmware? I guess Neptune X, Neptune 2 firmware. So they know to do it. It looks like they do. It should be here now, really, because they provided it to me. But at least it doesn't look like they're trying to avoid it. I bought a flat with an extra bedroom but filled it with 8 printers and loads of radio controlled planes. Well, yeah, this is basically the spare bedroom in this flat. Second bedroom. This whole room is just 3D printing shit. And a lot of it. I keep trying to get rid of things, but it's just a hugely monumental amount of stuff. Get your family into it and offload printers off to them. I could. It's tempting. Probably just end up selling them, to be honest, or something, I don't know. What board has it got? The main board? I can't remember the name of it now, but if you scroll back in the live stream, I think you can scroll back 2 hours and we're just at 2 hours. So if you scroll back now, you'll see where I open the printer and check the board. It's in there, and I read the name out and everything. Looking forward to see you in Mune Studio. Yeah. Me too, if it happens. Would be cool to get a... I mean, I'd like a more dedicated space than just a room in a flat, to be honest, but... all these things cost money and businesses are growing just very, 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 very slowly. New studio, more space. So this is one of the difficult things to get over for me, is when you get a room like this and it's a pretty big dedicated space. I mean, it's not really very big, but it's pretty big. But you end up filling it with things because you get given printers like this and that one over there and that one over there. You've got to find somewhere for them to go. And before long, your room feels full and you think, okay, well, I need a bigger space. But a bigger space costs more money. But if you're not getting more income from having a bigger space, then you can't get a bigger space. You have to be able to justify getting the bigger space. Otherwise, you're basically paying to store the printers that you've been given, which makes no sense at all. I think my problem with this space is how ununiform everything is. Everything is different height, different size, different depth, different width, different everything. So nothing really fits together very well. The whole thing is not, it just doesn't, it feels very inefficient. So like, I love having this workbench, but then I've got these two like random IKEA tables next to it, for which I can barely use most of the space underneath, just because it's very shallow and very deep. But like a single uniform wooden workbench all the way around a room with like elevated filament storage or shelving and stuff like that. Oh, be heaven. I'm trying to grow the shop at the moment. That's the main thing. Develop genuinely valuable things that people find useful. Try to develop things that are kind of unique, a little bit different, mostly just useful. Oh, Lars, that's super kind of you. Thank you very much. You didn't have to do that. Thank you though, much appreciated. Yeah, main focus at the moment is the shop, because it's something that I can kind of control. YouTube, this is no control. You have no idea. Well, I get, with a lot of experience and a lot of analysis, you can get more lucky more often. But I'm trying to develop like genuinely useful, new, slightly innovative, but not like things that like need loads of investment. I don't have the capital to like develop a 3D printer. But small products that are interesting and useful, like the linear motion press, like the RGB LEDs, the white LEDs, different LED strips, lighting strips, all that kind of stuff is useful, fun to do, little upgrades, lots of instructions. I think it's really valuable. Oh, the rep cord filament storage. I do have some, I mean, so I can probably just show you. You can't really see. That's my filament storage on a shelf, along with the other boxes and shit that I just threw over there, as well as more filament storage up over there. It's just, and more filament storage up on the top there. It's just stuff everywhere. I do try and get rid of as much as I can. It just accumulates. I definitely need good 3D printers. I'll buy them off you in the future. Well, one thing I'm thinking of doing is doing an assembly service. Not for obviously kits like this, but things like rat rigs and borons. It can logistically be quite difficult, I think, but I think there could be people that are after that. I'd spend a lot of time building printers, but I blimmin' love doing it. So that could be quite a fun thing to do. Having to make custom in-ear monitors for audio files and make custom PC mouse. That sounds quite good. That's quite nice. Assembly service, won't you need lots more space then? Well, I wouldn't necessarily be taking on multiple projects at once. They'd still be sequential, so I'd basically just do them the same way I do now. I'd store parts in the living room until it's ready to build, bring them in here, build it on the desk, send it out. Unless people want something that's absolutely enormous, in which case obviously that changes a little bit. Yeah, tidiness is absolutely key for me. If things aren't tidy, I get very frustrated very quickly. Things need to be where I expect them to be. Because if I think I own something, I need to know where it is. Because if I think I own it, if I'm convinced I have one but I can't find it, it's extremely frustrating. So yeah, I try to keep things as tidy as possible. It's generally not, it's not that tidy. For somebody that likes a clean, clear space, it's probably a nightmare, but every now and then I spend a couple of hours just going around and putting things back where they belong. Because a lot of the time in the middle of like building stuff like this, like you saw over there on the floor, I've just like thrown the boxes. But now after the end of the stream, obviously I've got to take it out, sort it out, decide what I'm going to do with it. Am I keeping it? Am I selling the printer? Am I keeping the printer? Is it going over there? Is it going over here? What's going to go in its place? All of that's around keeping it tidy, and then I've got the desk space for the next project that's going to come and sit on it. how's the rack stuff going? I'm confused. The rack stuff. The rack stuff. After Brexit, assembling printers for consumers outside UK will not be interesting price-wise. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do it outside the UK. Shipping alone would make it kind of extremely difficult. Can't you open the 3D print farm with all the 3D printers you have? Kind of, potentially. But just opening a farm is very different from actually having customers. And maybe my marketing skills are not super great. I think one of the things about having a 3D print farm is you really need to have lots of printers that are the same thing. If you have lots of different printers, that's lots of different profiles. Every time you print something, you're changing, modifying different profiles in different places, and you've got to have different spares for all the printers, because if one breaks, you've got to be able to repair it. So really, if you're doing a farm as a business, it makes a lot of sense to have all of the printers exactly the same. And all of mine are just random, half-developed anything. Well, you're selling 3D printer racks. Well, I was selling this workbench thing behind me, but I'm not selling. I tried it as a Kickstarter. Ultimately, too expensive, difficult to ship, difficult to move, and Brexit and everything is now is just there's no way. So I sell them as digital guides, basically, bill of materials and instructions and everything. Client of mine. Producer of bicycles for handicapped persons, has a farm of 128 printers. Yeah, that kind of thing's so cool. I'd love to work at a business like that. Anyway, just using 3D printers and printed design on the regular would be awesome to do. Should I print the Brilla first, or download and install the new firmware? Is there new firmware? This doesn't say new firmware. Yeah, that's why everyone has a bunch of Ender 3 or Neptune 2s. Yep. People just buy lots of the same printers. You should teach 3D CAD modeling on separate channels. You could get so many views. I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure it's that popular a subject, is it? It'd be cheaper to me to buy a plane ticket, fly to London, bring the printer with me, paying the oversized tax at the airport, saying that the printer is mine. Yeah, which is like the whole problem with doing everything. It doesn't matter whether it's tiny thing or big thing. Dealing with anything in Europe is just not ideal anymore. Maybe one day we can solve that problem. Teach SolidWorks or AutoCAD Inventor. If it's not anything, it'd probably be Fusion 360 because it's actually accessible. People that pay for SolidWorks licenses have access to educational materials, I always thought. I could be completely wrong here. I've never really looked into it. I hate not having a piece of paper to write on. CAD is going to be the next thing I have to learn. SolidWorks is so darn expensive. I've used Fusion and SolidWorks, and I only use SolidWorks because it's free from school. And most ME places I've seen not used it. For someone new, just use Fusion, it's much easier to run. Yeah, the nice thing about Fusion is it's more accessible both cost-wise and performance-wise. I used SolidWorks for 7-8 years as a design engineer, and it's just constantly crashing. It's so unstable. As soon as you do anything serious with it, it's just like, I can't manage. The software is just not very good. This is super gritty. One of the massive performance problems that SolidWorks has is it doesn't have a level of detail change with zoom. So being zoomed out, it will draw everything with the same level of detail as it did when you're zoomed right in. Why? When it's literally like your entire project is 1 inch across on the screen, it will still try and draw everything to perfect detail. Whereas Fusion 360 is smart. If it knows that whatever you're looking at is only covering 2 pixels of the screen, it will draw it to suit that level of detail. Basically not at all. It's only when you zoom in that it will increase the detail to then draw smooth curves. It's just such a base level thing that you need to have in the CAD package. I've not followed SolidWorks for maybe like the last 3 or 4 years now, so maybe it has that, but it's so badly unstable, it's ridiculous. Fusion is, I'm pretty sure, going to completely overtake 3D CAD world. It will take a time because businesses that are relying on that software, relying on SolidWorks, are so integrated into that system. It's very difficult for them to change. The printer is pretty quiet. If I get extra close, you can probably hear it. It is quiet. It is pretty quiet. I think I do have a few filters on the audio. Only a compressor, so that changes the top end. I don't think it's filtering out anything at the bottom end. No, so I do hate Fusion 360. If I use a Mac, it has no concept of a touchpad. Are you trying to do 3D CAD with a touchpad? I'm not saying that's wrong, but I can imagine that being extremely difficult. In my opinion, a mouse is really essential. I've never got my head around 3D mice. I don't really feel the need for them, but some people swear by it. Yeah, you can run Fusion on most, well, I say most things, a lot of things, because you're not really running Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is basically just a browser like Chrome, and it's accessing a cloud service, which is the design software. So if you can run a browser, you can run the tool. Obviously, you have some rendering capability on that machine to generate the graphics, but largely the compute stuff is all in the cloud. So you can run it on a pretty shitty computer. Oh, that was, Ricky, is that in the days when you had to have your license on the USB drive? And if you didn't plug it in, it wouldn't launch. Ah, the days of shitty, stupid licensing packages. SolidWorks, I think, didn't even move away from stuff like that not that long ago. I think just before I got into the industry, because people were talking about it pretty commonly, I think. I've never really used Onshape. Isn't Onshape everything you do public unless you pay? I just don't like the idea of that. Oh, now you're mentioning integrated circuits. Blooming KiCad. Oh, or KiCad, however you like to pronounce it. I say KiCad. I've learned to use that and do all this PCB design stuff over the last year, probably 6 months. Bloody love doing that shit. It's so good. And it's finally done. 57 minutes. We ran a lot of it at 200% speed. It's warm. Ooh. They obviously put the brim on here because they know if it's a printer for quite new people, then they probably are not very used to setting that first layer quite right. Brim just gives it a little bit extra chance to stick. But I mean, I don't think this was a very good brim. My nozzle could have been a bit closer, but the brim didn't even attach to each other. So let me show you what this print looks like. With Onshape you have full function for free, but everything you do is public unless you pay. But in my opinion there are still functions that are missing in step, yet too complicated compared to Fusion. How much is the Pro version supposed to cost? Yes, sorry, we haven't really talked about the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro for a little while, have we? I don't know. Sorry. They don't have a web page up yet. Hopefully they will have soon. I'd definitely say they could increase the standard print speeds, because we did this at 200% most of the time. It seems to have come out pretty good. I wouldn't say it's a very difficult print. There's no real overhangs. The chin is maybe a little bit of an overhang. There's no steep inclines, there's no bridging. There's no retraction really, other than layer change. Pretty easy print. That's obviously one of the reasons they chose it. But nevertheless, it does look pretty good. I'd say that's pretty acceptable. And another printer joins the ranks. I like your turntable. What? Oh, the Lazy Susan. It's not in this. I've not used it today, but. Oh, this turntable. My water bottle. I've used it quite a lot for that purpose. It's just like perfect height for doing it. Donation from Stephen, that's super kind of you. Thank you very much. Goodness me, you people are being generous today. Super kind, thank you. Is that LTT? No. I did have before an Aperture Science water bottle. This one's getting pretty dinged up as well now, but even like, you can see where I drop it occasionally, it just leaves a massive dent in the lid. So you know where the teeth broke before, another tooth broke basically next to it, so it doesn't really work now. Now the pub is cooling. Yeah, good idea. Friday evening, time to chill out. Yeah, why is $17.99? What? I hadn't noticed how obscure that number was. Is there something? I don't know. Cool. Well, yes, we are definitely at the end now. Hopefully that's useful to give a bit of a decent introduction to the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro. It's looking pretty good. It's shaping up pretty well. Obviously, this isn't a review. This is just first impressions, unboxing and getting it set up and getting out the first printout. But the first impressions are reasonably good. I think hot end. I don't know though. It's PTFE lined, not all metal, but you're not enclosed, so PLA is quite a good option. As a PLA printer, probably works pretty well. Speed wise, I think the profiles, I mean, we've not seen actual print profiles other than the one G-code that comes with it. I think it could probably go a little bit faster than the first print suggests. Could you put a Revo on it? Sure, why not? You have to deal with all the malarkey of that hot end PCB because it's not using JST-XH, it's using PH for a lot of those connectors, which is tiny and not as common. Sorry, Daryl, we don't have any data on pricing at the moment. I can double check, but I've told everyone so far that there's no pricing. I'll try and get an affiliate code as well if you all don't mind. Not that I needed to tell you that, but anyway. What is your opinion of the machine? I don't really have one. This is just first impression. My first impression is reasonably okay. There's no glaring emissions. There's nothing horrendously bad. They've followed open source. I mean, this is what the whole stream is. Maybe listen to the stream as like a podcast and you can hear me say all of the things. Is it going to be a Kickstarter? Not that I'm aware of. They didn't mention it going to be a Kickstarter. I don't think they have any reason or justification for making it. It's not very unique. It's just slightly different to the Ender 3. Ender 3. The Neptune 3, sorry. Stephen, you can actually put Revos on a Hemera. You don't have to buy. The only reason you would want, well, you should buy the upgrade because it mounts the Revo correctly. The only thing you don't get if you put a Revo heater and nozzle on a Hemera is the heater connecting with a spring to the Hemera body. That's what it does. Everything else works just the same. So you can put Revos in that nozzle. It will work. You can print. You just need to be more careful. But then if the temperature is going to be cold, each time you remove the nozzle, it's probably going to be okay anyway. There might be some other safety aspects that I'm omitting by thinking about it off the top of my head, but by and large, I wouldn't call it mandatory. You'd like a European warehouse. Do they not have one? I swear when I just went to look at this shop. US, Australia, Japan, oh, UK, Canada, okay. We've got one in the UK, yay! I suspect you're going to resellers for... So there's major resellers for EU. Maybe that's why they've not bothered. People like 3D Jake, 3D Prima, Nordic. That lot, probably pretty heavily distributing those. I guess, I don't know. The spring also keeps pressure on the nozzle for threading and constant heating, I believe. It won't help with the threading. The spring you can still, so you can have the spring installed on, could I? So, yes, you're right. The spring applies force, obviously downwards, like so, to ensure that the block is touching here. But the spring doesn't need to be attached to this body in order to apply that force. It would work sufficiently well without it. It just means that when you take this off, the threads on Revo are super long. It would just mean that when you take it off, this would also just fall off. So we could probably try and do it on this. If you don't change nozzles very much, then, well, I didn't change nozzles much until I had Revo, and then I started changing nozzles more. It does encourage the changing of nozzles, because it's a bit easier to do. As long as you just need to make sure that you retract like 10-15 millimeters or something at the end of your print. Because that way, when you start the next print, it's already, well, when you want to change the nozzle, the filament's already out. Otherwise, you have to heat it up to change the filament, to then let it cool. Well, you have to heat it up to get the filament out, and then let it cool down so you can use your hands to undo it, and then heat it up again to do the printing. The differences between 3 and 3 Pro are listed in the description, in the top like 4 or 5 lines. So it's dual motors with dual lead screws, a light at the top, and direct drive. I'm pretty sure that was it, wasn't it? For people who've been here a bit longer. Help me recall. Next video, Revo mod on the Neptune Pro. I don't know what the next video is going to be at the moment. Oh. Well, I said I was going to stop a little while ago, and I am going to stop now. We've had some pretty good discussion though. Thank you everyone for joining. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via Patreon, via YouTube membership, or just simply buying stuff from the Vector 3D shop at vector3d.co.uk. Things like VLMP, LED lights, and some other cool stuff that's coming, which you'll see very soon. As well as divider PCBs. What else do I have? T-shirts, E3D Obsidian T-shirts, but we should get some of those. Yeah, thank you very much for joining in. Hopefully, said demonstration of such printer was useful, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.